Welcome to I Married a Melchizedek, episode 13, where we talk all about everything unity. Unity consciousness, the divine unity field, and the unity living process, along with our very own and absolutely divine Miss H, Hazel Davies, head Master UNITY Living Facilitator, who shares her fascinating experiences during her 18-plus year relationship with Jonathan C.R. Davies, her Melchizedek hubby, and all the wisdom gained along the way as an incredible intuitive healer herself. If you're here for the first time and unfamiliar with the Unity Living process or what exactly a Melchizedek is, or what they happen to have in common with Yeshua the Christ, I invite you to check out our new website at unityliving.life and find out all about it. I'm your host, Renata Duma, or Rada. Please share, like, and subscribe if you're so inclined, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified immediately when another episode of I Married a Melchizedek airs. Links to all shows will also be listed on the unityliving.life website. And now, once again, here's Hazel. Hazel, welcome to episode Baker's Dozen.
It is, isn't it? 13. Oh my goodness. Yes. Mm-hmm. And August. Goodness. Yes.
Yes. And just a few days. Well, we're taping this just before the Lionsgate, but yes. So we'll see what that brings. So how was your birthday, by the way? We just managed to get you off to a lovely start with episode 12, I think. So how were your celebrations?
Oh, it was a wonderful, well, more than one day, actually. It's kind of kept going for a couple of days, and so many wonderful messages, and it was just lovely to have that people remember me on my birthday. And yes, we had lots of fun here. We had a pizza party, we had a campfire. It just, the things that you do when you live on an island, and it was a lot of fun. It's not many years since I've actually celebrated my birthday, so it was quite special.
Oh, well, I'm from myself and from everybody else who joined, we were thrilled to be able to do it. And it's just become such a nice way to connect. And when we started shooting I Married a Melchizedek, we never really thought about how much it could contribute to building the community, the unity community. But that was our first, I believe.
Did you enjoy my cake?
Oh, yes, we did. I did. Well, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Margaret promised to make another one when you come down.
Yeah.
She loves making her cakes.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you had a great time. Wonderful. I'll have to think of something even more crazy next year. What will that be? Episode 170?
Oh my goodness. Don't even go there.
Alrighty. Well, after all the internet issues we were having last episode, or the birthday episode, let's hope today goes smoothly. And I'd like to start again with the subject we tried to talk about last week, but because we were running so late trying to connect online, we didn't really get into it in episode 12. So here it goes. Once again, many thanks to our audience members who are sending us really, really interesting questions. Please keep them coming. So let's jump right in and answer the following one. And it's a biggie, and it's in 3 parts. So the first part is, what is anger and what are its underlying causes? The next part is, how can we work to overcome it? And the last part is, describe the degrees of anger and how the underlying causes of it affect the mass consciousness. So no small subject matter to tackle here. So let's start with the first one, Hazel. What is anger?
Do I get 5 minutes to do that?
And what are
it's a big subject.
Yeah, it's a big subject. Yeah, go for it.
It's a very big subject, and to go into it in a lot of detail would take a long time. So what I will try and do here is give a few pointers, give a few things that may be useful to people so that they can work with their own issues and make some progress there. So what is anger? the explosion of anger is the explosion of the underlying. There's basically three underlying causes to anger, and the anger itself is the outward explosion, or the presentation of the underlying causes. So there's three in no particular order. One would be hurt, another one would be frustration, and another one would be fear. So the question would be, who or what are you angry? Not you, Renata, but talking to anyone is, who or what are you angry with? So if it would be hurt, it could lead to feeling of somebody or something not being the way that you would like, or the expectation of something that you thought was going to be a certain way, or somebody did you wrong. That can lead to revenge. It can lead to retaliation. Betrayal comes up. And the frustration, it could be, this is not how I thought it was going to be. So elements of control will come into that. Really, all the umbrella issues are going to come into that. So the abandonment, betrayal, lack of trust, it wasn't how I thought it was going to be, that kind of a feeling. As far as fear goes, fear is always into the future. It is never the past. It's always into the future. A worry about what if being scared. It may be worse than I know already. That kind of a thing. So let me see. It can bring in, the frustration can be impatience. All kinds of issues that are the underlying causes, and then when you can't take it anymore, it explodes. It explodes as anger or rage. There's different degrees, which we'll go into.
I'm sort of hearing something that it's basically the expression when one's expectations are not being met. So it's the juxtaposition between the core issues, the umbrella issues, and those expectations according to those umbrella issues that we have. When it's like them rearing their ugly heads, but we have expectations that things are going to be different because we're not aware of the impact of those umbrella issues in our lives. So then there has to be an explosion because it has to get resolved somehow. Right?
It's judgment. It really comes down to judgment because, you're judging something or someone because it's not how I want it to be. It's not how I expected it to be. So it comes down to acceptance. So it's first of all, it's the judgment, and then you come around as you're working through it, or hopefully you come around to accepting, oh, it's a different way than I thought it was going to be. How about that? And then we also, it touches on resistance. So are we going to be resistant to, because I want it my way? This is what I want, and I'm right. So all those elements come up. So when you can work through it and say, oh, I can accept that because really, if you're judging somebody else, it's really you're judging a part of yourself. Exactly. So eventually you come to accepting all parts of yourself, and therefore then you can accept other people or other situations that may be different to what you expected. And it's okay. As long as and that's what the work is, because you work through these things and then you become flexible. Say, oh, it's different. It's not how I expected, but hey, let's have a look at that. And then because if you're comfortable within yourself, you will then be comfortable with the external. You have to get the cart before the horse, or behind the horse.
And as you're speaking, that's right. And as you're speaking, I'm hearing also it's about taking responsibility, and this I not taking responsibility for the fact that, you caused it. What do you always say? Put a paper bag over their head, right? It's about you.
Then that's the realization. So that when you see what that external situation or person, whatever the circumstance is, as you work through it, say, hey, I created that. I did that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then why did I create that? Well, then that leads into the other issues that once you work through those, then you realize that if you created that, when you get through the issues, you can actually create something else.
Exactly. So I heard something the other day, and we began talking about it, but I thought this was really interesting, and it's something that we can ponder together, because I don't know. But the person said, anger is the sign of a lesson not learned.
Yes. Or an experience that has not been experienced fully. And
it'll keep coming back until the lesson is learned, or
it's unresolved trauma, if you like, or unresolved issue anyway. Yeah.
Good. Well, so there you go. I thought it was on the money, but, excellent. Glad you think so. All right. So now part 2, how can we work to overcome anger? I think we're kind of tapping on that, but
well, it is to look at the reasons why you're angry. What is it? Is it because I'm not heard? Is it because I didn't feel worthy? All the issues that we know. The anger will trigger something in you, and that's part of the work, is to figure it out. Why am I angry? Who am I angry with? Because, as you say, put a bag over their head, because it's really not about them. It is something unresolved within myself, and it's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's just not easy, because these will be patterns that have been there for a long time. But as you work through it, then you can resolve them. And then of course with the help of the Unity Living field, which is, once you realize what they are and you're willing to release it, to surrender that particular layer that you've just found out or acknowledged, and you feel it, so you acknowledge it with your head, you understand why I'm doing this, why I'm angry, and then you transfer that down into the heart space, which is where the transmutation happens. It doesn't happen in the head. It happens when you're willing, when you say, yeah, I've had enough of that. I'm going to give up what is available to be given up right now. Give it up to your unity field or your bubble, whatever you like to call it. It's the same thing. And then layer by layer, you work down the layer, and then you become, and you end up in a peaceful place, because you're in acceptance of everything, and then you're in the flow. You see, this is where resistance comes in, which is why resistance is what is the first protocol that we deal with, because sometimes we can be resistant to something, but it doesn't matter if it is something bad, in quotes, or something good. It is to be in the flow, which is not to resist anything, whether it is what we would term as good or bad.
Right.
Because everything changes. And if the bad thing is easy to understand, that because you don't want that anymore, and you can work through that. But also it works the other way too, is if you're creating something good, you don't hang on to that, because you can recreate it at any time anyway.
That's right.
So it's a freedom.
That's right. And the concept itself, or the matter itself, is transformed instantly with your awareness, and with your taking responsibility for it, right? It becomes positive. It becomes an immediate positive, right? And I think it's important to, because I get a lot of people asking me, well, like, I feel this, but I don't understand, like, where is it coming from, and how do I deal, how do I do that work to get down to the core issue? Because it can present itself as depression. It can present itself as sadness. It can present itself as a trigger of a memory from the past. And then I tell the people I work with, it's like, we have to keep asking, okay, so we'll start with, why are you sad? Well, I feel like I was excluded, or, when I was a child, or, and so like, where is that coming from? And what is that leading to? Well, now I'm angry about it because I'm realizing it, right? So I guess it's the progression of the emotion.
It's the progression, yes.
Yeah.
I'm angry because I was left out. I felt neglected. I felt unappreciated, which comes back to self-worth, right? Which
umbrella issues. There it is. There it is.
And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we don't know where it comes from, and sometimes it doesn't matter. We just know that we have, because everything is present now anyway. So sometimes we need to have an understanding, and other times it could be, I have no idea where this came from, but it is obviously here, and I'm ready to let this one go.
Perfect. And now part 3.
What was that?
Describe the degrees of anger and how the underlying causes of it affect our mass consciousness.
Oh yeah. Well, the degrees of anger, they range, from, well, annoyance is not really anger. I wouldn't call that anger. It's just annoyance. It's a very mild form of it. But if it's not dealt with, it can lead to more anger, and it can go right through the whole gamut to being angry and acting it out, or abusive situations. It can be verbal. It can be physical. Those need to be dealt with seriously. So it runs the whole gamut. So it depends what level you're talking about. But what's happening right now, as far as on a macro level, we're talking initially about a micro level, the personal level with the anger. But there's also a lot of anger coming out in the mass consciousness because of the exposures that have been coming out, and people are realizing that they've been lied to a lot through lots of different circumstances, and it's coming out as anger, and rightly so. But the thing is, when you can recognize the anger, to acknowledge it, to feel it, to acknowledge it, and then to let it go, because the solution is not in the concentration of the anger. Because if you whatever you concentrate on, whatever you put your focus on, is going to increase, because that's what you're feeding.
That's right.
So, yes, there is a lot of anger coming out. The way to see everything that happens on an individual level is going to go into the mass consciousness. And if we really want to create this wonderful new world that we're all yearning for, it is by doing your personal work and to put the focus on the solutions. Yes, things need to be dealt with, but not to hold on to them, to let them flow, and let the people who deal with those things, let them deal with whatever it is that needs to be dealt with, but not to hold on.
I totally agree. And I also feel that a large part of the situation can be eradicated through universal awareness and through unity consciousness. Because when we finally get to the point where we realize that, you know what, you and I are all one. There's no such thing as competition, because you're just competing against yourself, right? And when you can't really be angry at somebody else because you're being angry at you. It's, again, put that paper bag over their head. It's about you. So when we get to that state of awareness, that collective consciousness, I think this will be the greatest explosion of consciousness on the planet, when there is a mass, or at least a critical mass awareness of the universal awareness of the unity consciousness that has always been an aspect of humanity, that has always been an aspect of us, but has been, as you say, we've been lied to and hoodwinked and all of those things and programmed. And so once that awareness reawakens, then any of those umbrella issues actually have to melt away. And we realize that we're just here to help each other, or like Ram Dass always said, and I love the saying, we're all just here walking each other home. So when we get back to that home place that's in the heart, that was originally, as we were all born of the unity consciousness, I think that's going to make the hugest.
I think there's probably not a wide acknowledgement or understanding that everything that we do in every moment, every word, every thought, every deed affects the mass consciousness. Everything, absolutely everything. And I think that we can say, oh, well, it's just me, I don't really matter. And then, of course, those are, the issues on their own, but they do matter. Everything matters. Every single thing that every person does matters. And once you realize that, you become very aware of how you're operating, how you're talking to other people, how you're thinking, how you're speaking, everything. And that is the work. That is the work.
I wish there was a machine that people could hook up, right? It's like, let's just say it's, for lack of anything, it's a screen. You throw that screen up in your living room, right? And it's actually a gauge of everybody's emotional awareness, right, on the planet, right? And I'm sure somehow in some dimension this exists. And you actually, so you see it, and then you purposefully, just to test and see what happens, you start spiraling into some negative thoughts, et cetera, and all of a sudden you start to see how you are affecting the energy around you, like 60, 70,000 people in your field.
As soon as you start going down,
exactly.
As soon as you start going down into the fear mode, the anger mode, the victimhood, anything that is of a lower frequency, that affects everything. And if we could learn how to laugh a lot, find the joy, find the goodness in everything, it would speed things up a lot. Because nobody's going to come in and save us. Humanity has to do it because we created it. Yeah. Even if we didn't know, we still did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally. I think everyone should have one of those screens.
Yeah.
So following up on our series on the 7 Unity Living transmissions, let's talk about into service and what it offers and why it's one of the most important transmissions of the Unity Living process. Hazel?
Well, into service, there's a lot of people that go into service, and it's all good. I mean, service work is very good. Some people will get into it before they're really ready, before they've done their own work, and then they can end up being burned out, and then they have to take time out because they become empathetic and taking on their clients' issues only because it's actually triggering their own issues. So the inter-service comes at that time, the 7th protocol in the whole process, because you've already worked at the majority of the issues. You've already become into balance. You've already got the balance between the giving and the receiving, which is a big thing for people to learn when they go into any kind of service. So this transmission takes service to a higher level. What it means is that you do something just because it's the right thing to do. For no other reason, but you do no expectation. There's no expectation of praise. There's no expectation of accolades. There's no expectation of even money.
Right.
You do it because it's the right thing to do, because your heart's in the right place, and you just know that that's what needs to be done So what happens with the clarity that comes with this, it ends up as being your presence, your presence with a capital P, your presence in the world, because you're able to hold a frequency, a high frequency, because you've already done sufficient work to maintain that frequency. And yes, there is a reward. People think, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to pay my bills if I go into this higher frequency. Mm-hmm. No, it doesn't work like that, because you do get paid, but you receive from a higher level. I always call it the big roulette wheel. You do what you do because that's what you do, and that's the right thing to do. And the big roulette wheel is saying, oh, look at what she did, and we'll send down a little gift here or there. Yeah. And sometimes it comes from very different places. So, but your presence in the world, it doesn't matter if you do nothing. And I really mean do nothing, just in a state of being. That is just as valuable as somebody who is on the world stage talking to thousands and thousands of people and traveling the world. It's not that it doesn't matter, it's that it is all valuable, it is all equal because of the presence that you hold. So one could be traveling the world and speaking to thousands of people and yet have a very low frequency. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't do as much good as somebody who's sitting at home, making muffins and loving the muffins.
Right. You muffin lover.
Well, I like muffins.
You sweet muffin lover.
But you understand that, it is about holding the frequency. And when you hold that higher frequency, that ripples out and that ripples into the mass consciousness. It's hugely powerful.
It sure is. Is there any circumstance under which, and I know this is something that I've talked about with other facilitators, having received the other protocols or transmissions, is it possible, what would be the circumstance under which somebody we would gauge perhaps that somebody would not be ready to get the inter-service transmission?
I think sometimes there's a desire not to put themselves out into the world and go and run groups or run talks like that. And once they realize that that is not what this is about,
right, then
most people, I've never had anybody that has said, no, I'm not doing that, that's not for me. Because when you get so clear of your own issues, what else is there to do? Right. What else is there? Is this the automatic progression is to go into service, whatever. I mean, those are words to use, but it's really to give your gifts, whatever they are, whether it's making jelly beans or, or writing a book.
Yeah.
It's the natural progression.
Right. And again, it's moving closer to the unity consciousness, because
being the best, being the best that you can be, no matter what that is.
Exactly. As a reflection for others so that they can become.
Be the example, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, we got that one nailed down.
Okay.
So once again, a big thank you to everyone who sent in questions. And curiously, I've gotten this question twice in the last few weeks. And the question is, does unity living have anything to do with the Unity Church?
Oh, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with any organized religion. They have some, so I know people who are members of the Unity Church and lots of other churches too. No, we don't have any affiliation with any church. They may have some of the same principles, and that's all fine and dandy, but no, we do not. It is Jonathan used to call it.
That's right.
If we had to sorry.
No, I was just going to say, what did Jonathan say about churches. Yeah.
Well, people used to say to him, we need a new religion, and he'd say, no, you got plenty of religions. You don't need any more. But if there would be one, it would be the religion of self.
Exactly.
So self-mastery.
Exactly. That's the bottom line. So any associations with any other organizations, be they religious or otherwise, are absolutely not a part of what we do. What we do is far, if I may be so bold as to say, far above any of those kinds of affiliations, because what we are talking about here is the unity consciousness, right? And not about separation and any kind of labeling or any of that. It is all inclusive, and it is based in love and unity consciousness. And
it is a way for people to become self-sufficient and in their own self-mastery, not to be putting anybody on a pedestal or anything. It is self-work.
That's right. And you better believe it. There we go.
Yeah.
So now the part we've all been waiting for, as a key feature of our show, and that is another Jonathan story. And again, I don't know what's coming down the pike here. So over to you, Hazel.
Well, I have a funny one for you.
Okay.
Seeing as we were talking about birthdays, when Jonathan had his 50th birthday, I decided I was going to have a little party for him. And at that time, we were living on a 25-acre property out in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful property, beautiful house. And I invited a number of people to come to the property, and we would have a little party. And I did tell Jonathan, I'm just going to invite a few friends over. But I didn't tell him that I had a surprise for him. So we're there, and I had the food and everything, and everything's just great. Everyone's having a good time. There's food there, there's drink, there's lots of laughter. And then we had sliding doors, and then we look up, and there's this, for want of a better expression, a bag lady, and she's standing outside the doors. And I had arranged this as a gag. But nobody else knew about it. And so she's knocking on the door, and everybody's going, Hazel. And I said, oh, look at that. Oh, what is she doing here? So I opened up, and she said, well, I saw all the cars, because she said, I was walking, and I've been walking for so long, and I'm really hungry. I haven't eaten for 3 days. Oh. I said, oh, come on in. We've got lots of food here. And everybody's going, Hazel, what are you doing? Like, get rid of her. And I said, no. It's fine. Look, she's hungry, So we invited her in, and she starts to eat a sandwich. And then of course, she breaks into a song all about Jonathan, a happy birthday song, because I had given them a lot of Jonathan's, things that he was interested in. So yeah, so she pulls this thing out of her big bag, and at first it was like, can I take some sandwiches for later on, because I'm going to be home. And everybody is like, there's silence, everybody is just, anyway, it was really funny. And I have some photographs that I found that I will send you. Because Jonathan's expression is quite bright. She had red lipstick on, from ear to ear, and she takes hold of Jonathan, and she gives him this big hug and this big smacking kiss right on his cheek. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So when did he realize that that it was a gag?
When she started to sing.
Yeah.
Not before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have pictures of that for everybody. So I can't wait to see them myself.
I got him good.
You got him good. Yeah, you got him good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So I see we're once again getting to the end of today's showtime. So tune in again with Hazel and myself in 2 Tuesdays when we bring you episode 14 of I Married a Melchizedek, where we not only get to learn even more about the life of a great being, Jonathan C.R. Davies, and the vast and vital legacy he left behind, but also Hazel's brilliant recollections thereof. We'll also explore more about the Unity Living transmissions and how they assist individuals in the most profound ways. I'm your host, Renata Duma, or Rada, wishing you brilliant days ahead in the full flow of all creation, full of joy, health, true abundance, and positive outcomes from lots and lots of manifestation. And we hope your Lion's Gate was smooth and paves the way for great advancements and expansion in your world. Master Living Unity Facilitator and partner of Melchizedek, Jonathan C.R. Davies, Hazel Davies, thank you for yet another wonderful show and for all you do for the entire Unity Living community worldwide.
You're very welcome. And thank you, Renata, for hosting this. Yeah, thank you.
Till next time. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye.